All right. Welcome, everybody. So proud to be sharing with you today an interview of Ben and Wendy Burks, who are one of our strategic partners with Reformers Unanimous. I've had the pleasure of knowing them for quite a few years now. Just stand up, wonderful people. And wanted to share with you really about an organization that some of you may be very familiar with, but many of you may not know about, that was started right here in the Rockford area and is helping so many people with addiction, with getting hazardous drugs out of their life. Just so very important. So a little bit about RU, or Reformers Unanimous, and these guys. Ben and Wendy have been with them for over 20 years. Ben is their international director. They have over 2,800 active chapters. So they go there when they are starting a recovery program, usually within a church, but they also do it internationally. And yeah, it's something that we've been proud to both financially help support, but also we had a staff member who sent a family member there, and it's very, very important. So welcome, guys. Glad to have you today.
Well, wonderful to be with you.
So to get this started, what we're going to do is interview them, and they're going to tell us just a little more about RU. So I guess if you first, just what's the main purpose? Tell everybody about RU's main purpose as an organization, please.
Well, Dr. Jared, RU is a faith-based recovery program bringing transformation to people and communities everywhere. And we see that the word there that it's a faith-based recovery program. And people need to recover from drugs, from alcohol, from things that they get addicted to. Addiction is anything you continue to do even though you know it's bad for you. And
Sure.
And it just becomes a bad habit. And we've got a formula that will work every time to help them overcome those stubborn habits and addictions.
And Wendy, we were just talking about that really with this current global pandemic, there's a pandemic within a pandemic, which is addiction. And so I guess, why do you feel it's so effective as a program compared to some of the other programs out there?
Yeah, like you said, it really truly is a pandemic within a pandemic. And my heart breaks because we see so many people in isolation right now. And isolation is not a good thing for people who struggle with stubborn habits and addiction. And even suicidal thoughts. Suicide is up, alcohol sales is up, all these different coping mechanisms to deal with today's life. And they really need the support that they find at RU and other programs as well. But what we've seen at RU and why it works is that it is faith-based. We do use, we have a full line of curriculum, and it all goes back to scripture. It all goes back to Bible. Thus we're faith-based. But typically those addictions, those things we see on the outside is just an outward manifestation of what's going on the inside. There's some root issues. And so we have to get to those root issues. Some people need extra help, it's true, but sometimes they just need help dealing with life's difficulties, and they need people to help support them through that.
Absolutely. And I've had the pleasure of being a guest at one of your Friday night programs. I've met the directors of your homes that are right here in Rockford for recovery. And so could you maybe just, you guys tell us a little more about the different programs that are available through RU?
But yes, we have the RU recovery program is in, like you said, 2,800 locations. And typically that's in a local church setting. Although we have RUs in jails and prisons, we can send materials to those locations, as well as people teaching the classes there. And then we have a men's and ladies school of discipleship right here in Rockford, Illinois, that is a 6-month program, residential program, where they can come apart for 6 months and really get that help that they need.
Yes. And so there are ways to do it where you can show up to a location for a meeting. You guys, I believe, have some virtual options at this point.
Yeah.
And a lot of book programs. So it can be as inclusive, or it can be like all in. You come for 6 months if you really need a lot of help, or you can come to a support group or a recovery group Could you just go into that maybe a little bit more for people?
Yes, you're exactly right. Whatever level that they want to start at, they can start there. And when they come to that Friday night chapter, there's a community of people there that have been where they are. And so the best people to help somebody out of a situation like that is people who've been where they are. And so they'll bear their burdens, they'll help them, and they'll have the right answers for them. And we know that it works. Yes,
absolutely. And you talked about just a moment ago about how with addiction is something that you're doing, over a period of time that is not good. It's not limited to just like drugs or alcohol, or there's more to addiction than that. And one thing that I think we resonate the most with is getting to the cause of the problem. If somebody's depressed, maybe they need a medication for a period of time, but trying to get to the cause of the depression that leads to the alcoholism, or the depression that leads to the drug abuse, or whatever it is. Is that fair to say, or are you?
Yes, it's more like a holistic spiritual realm and view of looking at problems. The Bible is very specific that when we help folks in Thessalonians, it says that we ought to do such in the spirit, the soul, and the body. Yeah. Not that one is not more important than the other. There's just a divine order that if you focus on the spiritual, and what we like to do is partner with people in our community who are experts in other areas. And that's why we love Chiropractic First and the team there, because we partner with other folks in the community that can help with what we call a trigger. In the early days, there are triggers that pull people back into their addiction. But if they can go somewhere and get some relief, get some help, get a plan, then that helps them stay on track.
Right. So you feel like a lot of the time the cause of the addiction is really them trying to almost like manage it? Or how would you say it when you talk about getting to the cause?
Sometimes I definitely think so. And one of the things we say often is you'll never change the way a person acts until you change the way they think. And it all starts back with a process of thinking that many times it's wrong way of thinking, but you're stuck in that way of thinking. And so to get them into a program, get them into a curriculum that gets them thinking differently, thinking on different things, dwelling on truth, rather than falling back into that the way that they've always done things. Mm-hmm. So if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. So we got to change that process.
Right. And if I can share with you just a couple of the conversations that we've had over the years that were some of the most meaningful, or probably shaped the way that I think even about some of what you just described, is one of them when we were talking about, when somebody goes to seek treatment, depending on where they go and depending on who's there to support them, can affect how they're treated. I believe, Brother Burks, you were talking about when somebody goes to the doctor by themselves, how the research shows that they tend to get more medication. You remember that conversation?
Yeah, I do.
And so could you tell people just a little more about why RU tried to help with that support program or intervening? Because that was a really memorable conversation for me. I think it would stick with a lot of people.
We were talking about how so many times the answer is avoided because people look for other ways to cope with their problem. And so they trade their addictions. And right. So they may no longer be addicted to heroin, so they go to the doctor. And when they go to the doctor alone, then that doctor just prescribes other opioids and things like that. And they many times run from doctor to doctor and place to place. And so what we've started doing, in fact, this afternoon, I've got an appointment with a man that we're going to try to meet with a social worker and some others in the community to try to, because oftentimes we don't tell all the truth. We only tell what we want people to know. And the truth is what makes people free. And so.
And it's not intentional.
No, not at all.
And so building that trust relationship with somebody where you say, hey, let me help with you. Let's go, because there is the privacy acts and things like that. You can't just get all that. So, but if that person says, hey, will you go to the doctor with me? And then you get placed on the list at their doctor's office, you can work a great system there helping that person, but you have to build trust with them. And you have to be honest with those doctors.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I agree with you. I wasn't stating that, more like the doctors just overprescribe intentionally, but more along the lines of, like you said, with opiates or something like that, people often do hop around. They go to immediate care, they go to the ER, they go to the practitioner, and it's that drug-seeking behavior. It's not their first thing that happens, but it happens after the addiction is created. And you mentioned something. Could you share with, when you talk about opiate addiction or heroin, which is way too prevalent, how some really, let's say, good or hardworking people can get sucked into that addiction or life without meaning to?
We've seen, so that's what I meant by not intentionally. I've met so many people that fell into this addiction, and it was not what they sought out to do. It was not their intention whatsoever. They had a toothache. They went to a dentist. They had to get a root canal. And, the next thing, they have dental surgery, and then they're placed on medication for that dental surgery. And before you know it, the pain is so intense because maybe there's complications or something. So they have to have more medicine, and those medications are extremely addictive. And so then when you're coming off of it, your body goes through serious withdrawal issues, and you just want to fix it. You want to make that go away. And so they go to the doctor and say, hey, this isn't working. And so they just keep adding on top of each other to where then all of a sudden that person realizes, I can't live without this medication. They become desperate. And, from the young teenage boy to the mom who had some complications, and again, not intentional on either person's part, the doctor nor the person, but it happens easily. And of course, there are those that seek it, for a high or what have you. But we see it from both areas. Regardless of how they get started, they're stuck in it.
We've even seen professionally, nurses, doctors, pastors. We've dealt with a wide variety of people that have gotten addicted to opioids through a surgery or through something like that, and they didn't know how to stop. They refused to stop until there was an intervention or a call out or seeing something that was giving them some hope that I can live without this.
Right. Which is why your program is so good.
Yeah.
Right. It helps people.
We capitalize on the hope. And because there is hope. You don't have to live like this for the rest of your life. There is hope.
Amen.
Absolutely. Well, and I would say for us, we see it very routinely where, because of, I would say, a more traditional approach, the first time somebody has pain, the average person or the majority of Americans would seek medical treatment first and go from ibuprofen to maybe Norco to ending up on an opiate, or ending up at shots in their back, or they have all these things when really they could have done a lot more conservative things first that are lower risk, don't have addictive things, but it's just almost not taught. And our passion, and even why we wanted to do this, was to help spread the word for more and more people that there are safe programs, and there are very good programs that keep people away from harmful and this, let's call them the unnecessary drugs. There's certain a time and a place, but there's overutilization in our country very frequently. So maybe
I remember the first time I walked into your office to get an adjustment. It wasn't me, it was my daughter getting an adjustment. And I saw a big clear trash can like thing filled with prescription drugs.
Empty bottles.
And my heart, in fact, I got tears in my eyes because I knew that was a place that was trying, part of what you guys do is what we do. And I thought, boy, this is somebody we can connect with in our community and really help our community. That's what we want to do.
Yeah, that's why this partnership's been so good. Would you maybe tell us just a little bit about your family's chiropractic experience?
Yeah, we came to visit you the very first time in March of 2016. in the end of February of 2016, our daughter, who at the time was a senior in high school, our youngest child and our only daughter, was in a severe fatal accident where she was hit head on by a drunk driver. And that took some soul searching on my part after that episode. But so scary, so frightening. Our daughter miraculously walked out of the hospital that night with only scrapes and scratches, but a severe whiplash. And so we knew we had to get her some help or she was going to deal with this for the rest of her life. And of course, there's so much going on when you go through something like that, so many thoughts going through your head. And somebody gave me your name. And I brought our daughter into your practice there, and I met Lori, and just, you know, she was a mom too. And we shared, I told her the story, and our hearts knit, and I knew this was the right place to bring our daughter to get the help that she needed. And I'm so thankful that somebody gave us your name, because, you know, it was exactly what I was looking for. I wasn't looking for somebody that was going to just give her pain medicine for the pain she was in, but to really help the issue so she doesn't live with this for the rest of her life.
And then on top of that, we started coming, and you offered to do an exam on us. And, you know, getting old stinks, you know. But I got to be honest with you, Dr. Jared helps us get old with grace. And we have enjoyed feeling so much better physically.
Yes.
And problems that have gone away in our lives because of these adjustments.
Sure. Fantastic. Well, I certainly appreciate the compliments, you know, and what we, you know, what I wanted to, you know, part of this that we talked about is coming out of the pandemic is lots of organizations that are very needed, and even an increased need. We want to really work to support local programs. So for those of you that are watching or feel like this is a great team or benefit, we're helping to financially raise funds for RU for the first 2 weeks in June. So anybody that comes in for an initial consultation or appointment, it's a $25 donation, but that money does go right back to support RU. So it's our way to give back. And of course, there's other things that we've done through the years with food drives, but I just can't tell you, anybody who talks about getting to the root cause of the problem and getting people to live their best life, their God-given potential, anything along those lines, are people that we should all be supporting and working with and helping to make this a better community and a better world. So thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate you. And
it couldn't be more timely. We really needed it this time to help people, as hopefully we're going to get out of this stay-at-home order, and there's people that have been stuck at home and they really need help.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Have a blessed day, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.